coming. This is part of the teaching technology series that we're offering this semester. Today's session is going to be on clickers, the overview of clickers and their uses. And it's going to be a panel kind of presentation. There are three of us that will be presenting, and I'll be leading off, kind of covering the overall, the overview of the clickers and sort of what they are and how generally it's used. And then we have Professor Winder, who will also share about her experience using clickers this semester. And then we have Joden from IT, who will talk about sort of the logistics of the equipment and what's set up here and what kind of support is available. So, and of course, we can't have a clicker presentation without having actual clickers. So hopefully everybody has a clicker in hand that you will be using soon. Today's presentation outcomes, the things that we'd like you to be able to walk away from by the end of this session is that hopefully be familiar with what they are and how they're used, and then be able to hear one faculty's sort of experience using it, and then the equipment that are needed. So, but let me just generally define what they are. If you've never heard of clickers or you don't know what they are, they're essentially little remote controls, like a TV remote control. A lot of them are radio frequency, and there are infrared ones, but they are a little more expensive and less used. And they're also a receiver that comes on the other end. So I have a receiver attached to my laptop, and you guys have the clickers. And the idea of how the system works is that you have, when you click on something, there's a unique signal that is transmitted, and it's picked up by the receiver, and that will tell the receiver that that particular clicker is being clicked, and it will register, and then that will show up as a response. And I was just when we use the clickers, you'll see how this will kind of all works together. Instructors have used sort of clickers in a variety of ways, but essentially the idea is that they are used to engage students, to promote sort of interactions in the classroom, especially in the larger classrooms where, when you're having 50, 100, 200 students, where you can't really have an intimate setting like this and be able to kind of get a sense of what's going on and what are students thinking. So it's really a tool to facilitate that kind of engagement, interaction in that kind of setting. And really, when it's used effectively, and that's an operative word, effectively, oftentimes I think with any new technology, it can be just sort of thrown in there or add on, and if it's not integrated well into the curriculum, then it may not be as effectively used, and therefore the results may not be what you're looking for. So, but if it is used effectively, I think clickers, it enhances the experience of the classroom experience or whatever setting you're in, and making it sort of livelier and more interesting. So here's your first opportunity to use the clicker. So very basic question, what is your campus affiliation? So if you can click it, and I think we have 8 people, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, so everybody's in. So I don't know if you can see the top right of the screen. There's a little response box, and it says 10, and then the feedback. Well, we won't really be using that, but when I turn to the next slide, it will close and it will show you. So apparently, most people here are from natural sciences. Good to know, but it's a smattering of others. All right, my next question for you is, what is your role on campus? Okay, 9, one more. I guess okay, I guess we have a holdout here. It's okay. So it looks like grad students is sort of the majority, but it's pretty spread out also. Good to know. Have you ever used clickers before, either as a student or an instructor, or equivalent roles, like either a presenter or an audience? There it is. And it looks like, good. Majority have used it before, but 40% have not. That's a good thing. to kind of get a sense of where. So as you can see, just from very basic questions I'm asking, I'm able to generate a lot of understanding of sort of my audience as I'm going. More important than that, here's a demographic comparison of what we just did, and it shows you by the role on campus and how, so for example, 100% of faculty have used clickers before. I mean, so you can kind of see that I've mixed the demographic data that I've been collecting and now in this particular slide, the demographic comparison. So you kind of line things up to tell, like which population has done what kind of thing. So the people who haven't used clickers before are, let me see, I guess, it's hard to tell the shade. Grad students and is that the shade isn't really the easiest to distinguish, but I should do color next time. But you can see it's a neat kind of comparison chart. Follow-up question here. What is the primary reason or reasons you're attending today's workshop? So you can do more than one answers, I believe. I don't know if I did the settings correctly. So you can click as you click, the first click will be your first choice, second click will be second choice, and third, and so on. So you can click up to 5 times, I believe. But maybe I didn't set that correctly. So I don't know if you can keep clicking and see if it'll register like different, let's see if we can surpass 10 here. Maybe not.
Responses is based on the transmitter, not how many answers.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that needs some tweaking next time. But it looks like learn how to use clickers more effectively. This is good. We won't probably be able to really cover that entirely, but I think hopefully we can kind of touch on that. And like I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to have a follow-up on this workshop maybe next semester. As we're getting kind of ramped up in terms of more people using this on campus, we'll have more advanced workshops on the use of clickers. So typically how it's used in terms of the way questions are generated. I mean, if you're familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy, that's what the right chart looks like. It goes from sort of low order skills to all the way up to the very high order things. And the questions you ask on using these clickers can range from very basic things, kind of like what I did in the beginning, like just basically who you are, where you're from, basic background, opinions. Those are very basic kind of skill sets you're assessing, but you can kind of move up the Bloom's taxonomy if you want. And you can sort of start asking students applied knowledge, what they know to something different. You can ask them to sort of analyze things. So by using the Bloom's taxonomy, it really does help in terms of using it effectively. As you geared your question, it will get more. You can get more sophisticated in how you ask the questions, as opposed to sort of the basic. Because I think the easiest types of click questions are the basic ones, because those are the ones that you can quickly generate and on the fly you can do it. But the more higher order thinking skills, that requires you as a teacher or as a presenter to kind of, you have to think through, like, what is it that you're trying to get your audience to engage with? What kind of knowledge or content or ability to analyze are you trying to test? And so it's just something to consider as you do use clickers. The recommended approach generally is, you pop up the question, you ask the class, talk about it, turn to a neighbor and discuss the question and sort of figure out, what the answer might be. And then you tell them, okay, now it's time to vote, and then they vote. And then as a whole, afterward, you show the results, you kind of have this whole class discussion, and everybody will sort of talk about not so much the answer, but really why is the answer the way it is? Like, why is A the answer versus why not B? And that's where the engagement and interactions and the meaningful sort of substance of using clickers will come into play. Because oftentimes, as we know in academia, teaching knowledge itself isn't really the important thing. It's really how people manage that knowledge, how they deal with that knowledge, how they analyze that, how they compare it with something else.